Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer, and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last time was a run through Pokemon Fire Red with a single spinner rack, and that was brutal towards the end. Today though, we stay in Generation 3 and answer the question of if I can beat Pokemon Emerald with just a single Surskit. Surskit is better than you think. It is better than the spinner rack from last week, with a 269 base stat total. Our best stat is speed at 65, our special stats are okay, but nothing special, pardon the pun. But physically, we are nothing great for sure. We're weak to flying, rock and electric, we resist fighting, ground, steel, water and ice. Move-wise, we are okay. Probably the best move we get via level up, and probably the best stab move full stop, is Bubble Beam at level 25. We also get Ice Beam and Giga Drain via TM, so those will probably make up a good section of our moveset. Not getting Surf is distressing. The other move in our slot will probably be Return, but we are not going to get too much out of it thanks to our low physical attack. The rules are on the screen throughout. This challenge was suggested many months ago by Lizzie Tomkinson. About the same time I did the Nincada challenge, I think, so apologies it took me so long. As always, if you do enjoy what you see, then like, subscribe and ring that bell. There's no real great option for the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, so I chose to replace Mudkip with Surskit so that I can do the whole run with it. We don't get any bug type moves, so the rival, having Trico, will probably be just about the hardest thing for us to fight. At least until we get Ice Beam anyway. The Zigzagoon fight takes a suspicious amount of time, and I hope we've not got a nature that reduces our special attack. Or it could just be that Bubble is exceptionally weak. When we get gifted the bug, I nickname the Surskit. I'm not going to lie, I was tempted to call it Skitty, and that was what I went with, largely on the grounds that I didn't want to think of anything else. Nicknames are hard. Plus, I like the idea of trolling someone with this false name. Anyway, we have the Jolly Nature, which, I'm not going to lie, does us absolutely no favours whatsoever with increased speed and lowered special attack. I'm just going to be muttering displeasure under my breath for the next few minutes, don't mind me. Plus, the worst thing is, we have no real good way to train our special attack EVs for a while. Not unless we want to go after that low Ralts encounters on that route where Wally gets his. I might go speed EVs, that seems a solid use of the training because we are going to need to be strong. I'm tempted to try and buff our defence in Petalburg Woods too, because of the things we are weak against. Two of them do physical damage in rock and flying. And there is a rock gym ahead. As is usually the way when we're trying to grind a certain type of EV, everything but the Pokemon that gives us that EV shows up. I've had this in reverse in Emerald. When I'm trying to raise the attack EV, Zigzagoon show up instead of Poochyena. Now I'm trying to kill Zigzagoon, Poochyena is showing up. I'm sure this game goes out of its way to annoy me sometimes. I get Quick Attack at level 7 before the May fight, and I head into it, at least reasonably confident that we can do some sort of lasting impression on her, damage-wise. It shouldn't be too hard here. I think the one under Cycling Road will be harder for sure. Here, it's just slow. The entire game feels like it's being slow so far, and I've only been at it for an hour or so. Oh dear, I'm not feeling confident of this. We just trade blows over and over. We start by striking quick attacks, and eventually it does start to hit us with pounds. I should be grateful that we do get that bit of a head start, because I think if the fight had gone on maybe 2 more turns, or if she had attacked from the start, we could very easily have lost this. I think we were getting out damaged per shot there, so that's worrying stuff, and it is probably only going to get tougher. I do my training in Petalburg Woods, going after those defence EVs from Silcoon and Cascoon. If I did want special attack, there are Abra to the east of Rustboro, but it is a pretty low encounter rate, so it's not going to be fun. Plus, not a guarantee that we can one-shot them, because they like to flee with teleport. That nature really has screwed me for the entire run. Mind you, I never reset for natures, so it should just make it a bit more of a challenge, I guess. I keep on training until I get to level 19, and then I decide to go after Roxanne. Here's the thing, I think we will do absolutely fine versus the Geodudes. I think Nose Pass is going to be another matter entirely. That thing is tanky. Let's do this then and see how it goes. My prediction turns out to be spookily apt, as we can one-hit both of the Geodude considerably easily. Our bubble absolutely tears through them. However, Nose Pass is a different pile of stones. Nose Pass actually has decent special defence, and our bubble isn't exactly powerful. We probably hit it for about a fifth to a quarter of its health every single time. That's just not good enough because she has both a berry and 2 potions. So that is going to be a massive problem. We need to be able to outmuscle her, especially since she has Rock Tomb, and that causes just under half our health in damage each time. So it is a 3-hit knockout, and eventually she does land those 3 Rock Tombs that end us in this fight. I go and grind again, strengthening our defence stat by beating down more Silcoon and Cascoon in the Petalburg Woods. They are really good for defence EVs, and it does pay dividends because when it does come to the next attempt on Roxanne, we take a lot less damage from Rock Tomb when it comes to the fight with Nose Pass. We take out the Geodude in the same fashion. We get lucky when she goes for a Harden at the start of the fight, giving us a free turn to attack. If she did that half a dozen times, we would be absolutely golden, but alas, it is not to be. We do about a quarter to a third with Bubble this time, and that's really an improvement as we can soon tear through her health over and over with our attacks, getting her to waste her berry and both of her potions. I think we have this in the bag, you know, because we're hitting hard, we're hitting first, and she's going to run out of healing items pretty soon. However, could this go wrong? The answer is it does in the worst way possible, as we get hit by a 3rd Rock Tomb to put us on red health, and that drops our speed below Nose Passers, because we never got a speed drop of our own with Bubble, and Nose Pass drops us with a 4th Rock Tomb to take us down hard at the end. We will definitely do this soon. I'm only a few levels from getting Bubble Beam, but I do not think it will come to that. I hope it won't anyway. I think if it did, Bubble Beam would absolutely get us through though. I go in and make my next try at level 24. This may be the tipping point, I feel. If not, next level will be for sure. This effort goes much better. So, I'm not going to talk about the Geodudes, but we are doing a square quarter of damage every time to Nose Pass, give or take. The bad news is that it does the same to us with a Rock Tomb, ripping away a quarter of our health every time. So, 4-hit knockout basically. We get lucky in that she misses 1 Rock Tomb because, you know, Rock Tomb was pretty inaccurate, it felt in this gen. There's also a turn towards the back end of the fight when we've got her at low health and she goes for a block rather than attacking. We get her to waste the berry and 1 potion, but the 2nd potion never comes into play because we crit a Bubble to decisively end the fight. 1 badge down, finally! Trust me to make a meal of a rock type gym when I've got something that's part water type. Before we leave town, there is a fight with May, and I am reasonably confident about this one. I mean, I think she'll have the Torkoal, but I don't fear it. These are fighting words, especially when it turns out she doesn't have the Torkoal, but has a Wingull instead. I fear that even less, as we strike it with a quick attack for over half its health, and it counters with Growl. Knowing that we probably won't knock it out, I strike it down with our new Bubble Beam attack. Next is Trico, and I go for another Bubble Beam, which rather delightfully crits straight away and puts it on red health. It goes for Aaliyah, but she can't win from here, and we duly knock it out on the next turn. The fighting gym is next. This one should be reasonably straightforward. I mean, we resist the fighting type, we have a decent defence stat for what we are. Makahita's bulk up will be annoying, but it won't negate our damage, at least like it would if we were a physical attacker. I mean, we could be surprised, but I think we'll be fine. Next gym will probably be worse. Machop survives Bubble Beam on red health and goes for bulk up. Brawly then heals it, and we have to strike it with 2 more Bubble Beam attacks to take it down hard. The third Bubble Beam of our barrage being a crit that came when we didn't need it, as is the way. Meditite is a one-hit knockout with Bubble Beam, thanks to a crit which actually did help. And last is Makahita. We do hit it hard with Bubble Beam, forcing it to use the Citrus Berry to recover health. And the great thing is, Vital Throw does very little damage to us. He does go for a bulk up, but it doesn't save him. And I think he just gives up on the fight eventually. He doesn't bother to heal his Makahita, and we eventually strike it down with Bubble Beam to take badge number 2. Now, I am curious, how bad will the Cycling Road rival fight be? That is the question for sure, since this is often the worst of the rival fights in Hoenn. Everything else is pretty okay, but our move choices are still limited. I've been letting the Zigzagoon pickup brigade gather items that I can sell, so hopefully I can get the Ice Beam TM sooner rather than later. We are majorly struggling against grass types at the moment, so Ice Beam will solve a lot of issues. Let's talk about the May fight. So, she starts with Wingull, and there is a mildly hairy moment when it misses Supersonic on us, which potentially could have been really bad. We can too hit that with Bubble Beam though, even though it does resist the move. Slugma goes down to a single Bubble Beam. I'm not quite sure what she thought was going to happen there, but that just leaves her Grovyle. This is not an easy opponent to knock out, as our Bubble Beam does very little damage to it. But I reckon it'll still do more damage than Quick Attack, and it is eventually a 4-hit knockout, as we get hit with 2 Pursuits and a Quick Attack. But none of them ever look close to seriously injuring us, and we can take it down eventually, and I am glad that we can move on. Now, how bad will the Electric Gym be? Actually, I think it might be better than normal. For once, we aren't operating at an entire disadvantage against Magneton. We can hit it for neutral damage on its special defense stat, which is not as high as its physical defense. Do you think I'm trying to delude myself? But first, I went and took the Acro Bike. I know that if I didn't say what I took, then there's a chance you'd all ask. Actually, go ahead and ask away. The comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. I've always been a big believer that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Watson then. I do not know how this will go in the slightest. I have got a Cherry Berry equipped, so we might be able to one-hit Voltorb and Electrike, but I doubt we will do that to Magneton or Manectric. So we roll the dice and hope that we can survive a few shockwaves. I am reasonably confident for sure. We will see. So it's off to an inauspicious start when we fail to one-hit Voltorb just with Bubble Beam, and we duly get hit with a Shockwave for a third of our health, which very much not ideal. He heals it, so he has wasted a Super Potion, and we can take it out with another Bubble Beam and a Bubble, but I feel like we are not going to do it now. We do one-hit Electrike with Bubble Beam, but rather than him going for Magneton next, we have got to deal with Manectric, and things go wrong here for the most part. It shrugs off our Bubble Beam and paralyses us with Thunder Wave, which gets us to use our Berry, and we can remove the condition. It survives the next Bubble Beam and then immediately paralyses us again, so we are going to be slower now. That's not good, and I think that is my chance gone in this fight, as we lose most of our health to a Shockwave. He uses the other Super Potion to really take the fight out of our reach, and then we go down to a Quick Attack. Ah, nuts. I need to grind then, by the looks of it. I need to be able to do much more damage. So, I'll get to level 40 and take it from there. That is what I do, and I guess I'll see how it plays out this time. Paralysis and being weak to electric attacks is going to make this rough for sure. Voltorb and Electrike are both one hits to take down, and we can do over half to main Electric now, but it's still not enough. The berry means that we cannot 2-hit it, we only get one heal of paralysis, so I guess it's either grind up some more or hope for a crit. Neither sounds a particularly appealing option, but maybe I could make half a dozen attempts at the latter and hope for the best. On the second attempt, we get lucky, as on main Ectric's first turn, it goes for Howl instead of Thunder Wave, and that is the opportunity we get to press the advantage as we soak it with Bubble Beam attacks to inflict damage, the berry healing it up and Watson using a super potion. We do use our berry, but that's no matter because if we can turn it into a one-on-one with Magneton with all our health and no paralysis, I fancy our chances. After he heals, we get that crit I wanted to drop it hard, and we are good going into Magneton. We cannot take it down in one hit, but although we do get paralysed by Thunder Wave, it only goes for Sonic Boom rather than Shockwave, and we can fight through paralysis to take it down and get the win. I hate that gym so much. Anyway, as we travel towards the next major fight, let's do some Surskit trivia. Until Gen 7, this was the only Pokemon to be the combo of Water and Bug, and then along came two that were arguably a bit more interesting in the Dewpider line and the Golisopod line. Its Pokemon Ruby Pokédex entry states that it secretes an oil from the tip of its feet, but lets it walk on water as if it were skating. Its Pokemon Sapphire entry goes on about how it gives off a thick sugary syrup from the top of its head, and although some Pokemon like eating it, as is mentioned in a few Pokédex entries, it disgusts bird Pokemon, as stated in the Pokemon Moon Pokédex entry. The Ultra Sun entry mentions that the syrup made from gathering that liquid is tasty on bread. The Pokemon Sun and Ultra Moon entry mention that they often fight with Dewpider over food. Because Surskit can be seen as a counterpart to Dewpider, as they have the same base stat total, evolve at the same level, and both can be found at Brooklet Hill in Alola, with one being found during the day and one at night. This Pokemon is based on a Water Strider. There is a Maxi Fight before, much further on in the story, and this can usually be hit or miss depending on what we have. At least we're not a physical attacker this time, so Intimidate from Mightyena isn't going to do us a whole lot of harm. I still think he'll be capable of messing us up though if we're not careful. Mightyena is the biggest risk, but even this is somewhat insipid compared to normal. It survives our Bubble Beam, but rather than going for the dreaded Sand Attack, it only bites us. Maxi does drop a Super Potion on it, but we can take it out with another Bubble Beam attack for the win. Zubat is next, and we use our new move, Ice Beam, to shoot it down. Hence the reason I was grinding in the grass before Falaba Town, to get items to sell for money. Last is Camerupt, and I know how susceptible those things are to water after a particularly gruelling Fire Red run with Numel, we one-hit that with Bubble Beam. Fire Trainer Flannery is next, and we could be okay here. I think we will one-shot sweep her entire team up until Torkoal, and then things might get interesting because I do not think we will one-hit that Lava Turtle, and given it knows Attract and Body Slam, plus it has a neutral overheat, things could get rough. I think we should be able to 2-hit in theory, but practice may be different. This is easy. Even the Torkoal. Her first 3 Pokemon are a Cinch, as 2 of them, Numel and Camerupt, are quad weak to water, so they go down very easily to our Bubble Beam without us even really breaking a sweat. Slugma is handicapped somewhat by the very fact of being a Slugma and doesn't do any sort of better versus our Bubble Beam. And just like that, we're facing Torkoal. We blast it with a bubble beam, we get a very fortunate crit and we take it down. Okay then, normal gym time, and I think this one could be really rough. Slacking is probably going to mess us up if we're not careful, and even then it could be dicey. I do not think we will do this on the first attempt. I think we will need to be stronger. Mind you, our defence isn't bad, so maybe we can weather some hits. Let's find out. This fight is pretty gruelling. We get all tangled up versus Spinder when it survives our bubble beam on red health, and we get confused by Teeter Dance. Not good. We do hit ourselves in confusion a few times over the fight, but thanks to Norman healing and trying to hit us with Teeter Dance once again, even when we are confused, Spinder doesn't press the advantage and we can take it out with 2 more bubble beams. Vigoroth does hit us with Facade, but we shake the confusion off, finally, and we can take it down with 2 bubble beams. It doesn't really cause us too much of a problem, so that's something anyway. We do take some damage, but we'll be fine. Linoon is a 2-hit with bubble beam, but we have 50 HP left after taking a slash from it. Now, I don't think that is going to be enough as slacking comes out. My best option might be to freeze it, and so I go for Ice Beam attacks. Our first one does about a quarter of its health, and we get hit with Yawn. Yep, I'm doomed. I prepare for the loss, I fire another Ice Beam in desperation, hoping like mad for the freeze. Instead, we get the crit and Slacking goes crashing down for the 5th badge. Oh, okay, I didn't see that coming, I'll take it though. We have the rival fight outside the Weather Institute next, and we're probably far and away ahead of them now as we move towards that battle. It is always raining here, so it's nice to be able to take advantage of Swift Swim to gain a boost to our already decent speed. First is a very miserable looking Slugma who gets shot down with Bubble Beam. The hardest one actually is Lombre, believe it or not, as it hits us with Fake Out and Nature Power come Swift, but we can down it with Return and Quick Attack. That's an annoying effort, but eventually we bring it down and can face Grovyle, who we blast with an Ice Beam to 1 hit, and we can move on towards the next gym. Entering Fortree City, I get the Hidden Power TM and test it on the Kecleon outside to see exactly what sort of type we've been blessed with. I'm curious if it is something that will benefit us or not. I'm really hoping so, but unfortunately it's water type, so probably not helpful, since I doubt it will be better damage than Bubble Beam. It is the flying gym next, and I am a little leery, but I suppose that we should be able to mitigate some of the worst of it. We are weak to the flying type, but we do have an Ice Beam, so that should mess up quite a few of her team. Let's get down to business. Swablu goes down to Ice Beam. I do want to use Swablu in a challenge at some point, but again, too many options, too little time. Tropius is next, and that quad effective Ice Beam takes it out with extreme prejudice. Third is Pelipper, and it's exceptionally annoying thanks to that protect that it likes to do. Seriously, Pelipper, absolute pain in this game. We strike it with Return at the second attempt and do about a quarter. I figure that Ice Beam might do more damage, and after it uses Protect to block the first one, our second Ice Beam takes it down. Skarmory goes down to a crit Bubble Beam, very fortunate I must say, before our Ice Beam strikes Altaria and ends it pretty decisively to give us badge number 6. While I walk towards Lily Cove City, let's talk about what is ongoing with the channel. So, I finished Jedi Survivor and should have finished uploading the episodes of the playthrough since before the last challenge. Remember, there is always a time difference between me writing this and you hearing it. I've been smashing away at Ocarina of Time. Indeed, before writing this, I'd just done my time in the Fire Temple to get through that. At the time of recording, I just hit the water temple. I've just had my first death versus the final boss, and I just rage quit because I hate the water temple so much! Where was I? I did also begin recording my playthrough of Resident Evil 3 Remake, but how far along with that I am, I do not know, since I really should finish Ocarina first. I've got plans, but not enough time. Challenge-wise, we're moving ever closer to number 100. Anyway, next one is a return to Generation 2, and I see if I can beat Pokemon Silver with a single Porygon. I did it with Gen 1 and it was pretty pleasant. Someone requested it as a follow-up, so we're going to see if it has an easier or harder time in the sequel games. As always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, throw them at me! Always enjoy reading them, they all get logged away. Well, look at this one. It was requested when I did the Emerald with a single Nincada challenge, which was about 9 months ago, so I got to it eventually. Sorry, Lizzie. Even when some of the challenge ideas were put in for the 100th challenge, it doesn't mean I won't use them. Just maybe I won't use them for the 100th challenge because I have a pretty good idea what I'm going to do. Drop your suggestions in the comment section down below or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. Also, there is a Patreon link down there if you want to contribute to the channel. If not, you can support the channel free of charge by telling your friends or indeed anyone who might like this stuff. Maybe you hate somebody and you want to give them a bad time, send them over to my stuff. Anyway, back to the show folks, back to the scheduled content. There's the rival fight in Lily Cove City, and I figure I'll get it out of the way. There's a Maxi Fight and the Psychic Gym ahead, and neither are liable to be particularly pleasant. Actually, I don't know how they will go, but tradition says they're usually bad. May isn't a particularly tough fight as we face her for the last time before heading off to Mount Pyre. Tropius goes down to Ice Beam as might be expected before we wreck her Slugma with a Bubble Beam to get the knockout. 2 down and we're only just warming up. We shoot an Ice Beam at Pelipper, but the move is blocked by Protect. It lands at the second attempt though, even if it does survive on red health and go for Mist. I hate this bird so very much. We take it out very swiftly though, and the last opponent is Grovyle. Ice Beam takes care of it, we can move on. There is a very long trip next before the next major fight, but eventually we stand in front of Maxi and get ready to fight him. If we can deal with Mightyena and Crobat okay, we should be fine. We have super effective moves for 2 of his 3 Pokemon, so everything crossed. Mightyena isn't bad. We're at a decent level. We have Stab on Bubble Beam plus the Mystic Water attached, so I think we will one-hit his Dark Doggo. And we do, thanks to a crit. That was fortunate, I guess. The next opponent is Camerupt, and we strike it with Bubble Beam to take it down in 1 hit. Not sure what he was going for there, but okay. Crobat survives Bubble Beam on about 1/3 to 1/4 and hits Confuse Ray. Uh-oh, victory is pretty much a coin flip now. Maxi heals it, I call for Ice Beam, and thankfully it strikes to take it down and I breathe a huge sigh of relief. It takes much travelling, but soon we get to the Psychic Gym and I have no idea how this will play out. Genuinely, we're at level 69. Nice. And about the only thing that fills me with hope is that we have decent defence and super effective moves. Bug resists ground as well, so getting pounded by Earthquake isn't that much of a worry to me. Let's do this. I start by trying to take Xatu down, but it survives our Ice Beam on a Sliver. I'm thrilled to see that Earthquake does pretty much nothing, so I leave Claydol be. We watch the leaders heal Xatu with a Hyper Potion, and then, just as things start to look worrying, our next Ice Beam brings Xatu down. Damage range FTW, I guess. Next is Lunatone, and we down it with Bubble Beam, as Claydol keeps trying to Earthquake us with little effect. Solrock doesn't do any sort of better versus Bubble Beam as it goes down, and we finally turn our attention to Claydol with the fight one-on-one. It survives our Bubble Beam. Claydol actually has decent special defence. I do want to use Baltoy in a challenge at some point, I will point that out. Although it is worth remembering, I have actually used Claydol in a Pokemon challenge before, and Claydol hits us with Psychic that does more damage than about 2 Earthquakes combined, so I'm pretty glad it didn't start doing that sooner as we take it down with another Bubble Beam. Pokemon Emerald with only beauty contest moves in case you don't remember. That was the run I used the Claydol in. I need to do more of those contest move videos I think at some point. Actually, now I'm doing challenges once every 2 weeks, you'd think maybe I could do that. Not as many time constraints. Next is Archie, and we're going to have a lot of the same possible issues we had with Maxi, since their teams are almost identical, barring their aces. Trust me, I know this after those dual runs in Ruby and Sapphire with Archie and Maxi's team and moves. This fight is weird for sure. My Tiina survives Bubble Beam on red health, even with Mystic Water boosting it. Before we get hit with Scary Face, and he heals it with a Super Potion. A crit Bubble Beam takes it down. I'd love to know the scientific explanation for why the majority of crits seem to happen when they're not necessary. There's no way we outspeed Crobat now, and we dually get hit with Confuse Ray and Air Cutter, while we strike ourselves in confusion, but Ice Beam takes it down at the second attempt. We are slower than Sharpedo and get hit with Swagger, hitting ourselves in confusion, and then Slash strikes us to deal massive damage. But we shake confusion off and take it down with Giga Drain for the win, and we can move on. The Water Gym is next then, and this is usually horrific, and I have no reason to believe this will be an exception to that rule. I think 4 out of 5 won't be bad. However, as per usual, Kingdra is liable to be absolutely horrific though. I think that will be 100% true. Damaging it will be a struggle, and the double team and rest combo is just going to be bad. Our fight, though, with the one and only isn't too bad actually. Love Disc is a one hit with Miracle Seed boosted Giga Drain, and given how annoying that can be, this is a result. Next is Whiscash. Very brave choice given what we've just done to his Love Disc, but oh well, we duly one hit that with Giga Drain too. Celio is third and survives Giga Drain, Eat, and hits Body Slam. Thankfully, there's no paralysis, that would have doomed us, and we managed to take it out with a crit return. Fourth is Crawdont, and Giga Drain takes it down and recovers the bruises we got from Body Slam, before the dreaded Kingdra is last. I go for Ice Beams in hope of getting the freeze. We never do, just saying. It goes for double team on the first turn as we keep firing Ice Beam attacks at it. However, it has an Ice Beam of its own, but at least it doesn't do much damage to us, even after hitting a few of them. One does drop a Hyper Potion on it, but we never miss an Ice Beam, it never goes for rest, and we can 5-hit it with Ice Beam, including the ones after the heal. 8 badges down. Okay then, that was downright pleasant for once. Next major fight is the Wally one in Victory Road. From what I can recall of his team, this shouldn't be an issue, so let's go and get this fight started. I think the only one we may struggle with is Gardevoir. Everything else should not be an issue, and how right I am proved. Altaria is a one-hit knockout with Ice Beam, before the next opponent to emerge is Magneton, but quite nicely, Bubble Beam puts paid to that. And then in third, we have to deal with Delcatty, but another Bubble Beam takes that down to put us 3 up and into the fight with Gardevoir. Thankfully, it only ever goes for Future Sight as an attack, which we can shrug off, but we hit it with Bubble Beam, Ice Beam, Giga Drain and Return. Some of them more than once, before finally, at long last, we can bring it down, as it does resist our special moves. We do get a freeze with Ice Beam, but a full restore stops that. Thankfully, we do bring it down with Return, and last from Wally is Roselia, who also goes down to Ice Beam. It is a gruelling fight through Victory Road, and eventually we reach the Pokemon League, and as we stand in the entrance, here are our stats at level 85. Now, they're really not great. Attack is really bad. Even if we get up to max level, we may not hit 80 points. Defence is okay, I suppose. Our special stats are pretty mediocre. That nature is killing us offensively. Our speed is about the only somewhat decent stat, I guess. Sydney shouldn't be too bad if we can get through Mightyena without being too badly messed up debuff wise. 3 of his Pokemon we have super effective moves for. Phoebe will no doubt be her usual delightful self, especially with that Dusclops at the start, but we should be able to muddle through. At least we can resist what Glacier has to throw at us, even if I do think we may struggle to damage her Pokemon, due to them resisting most of our special moves and Giga Drain being low PP. Weirdly, Drake might be the easiest of the 4, Kingdra aside. Take your guesses on if I can do it at this level or not right now, folks. Dark Trainer Sydney is first, and while he may not use an atypical Elite 4 level Pokemon in Mightyena, that's the first Pokemon he unleashes, and I hate fighting this thing as it is unbelievably annoying, due to not only having Intimidate, but liking to spam Sand Attack too. Cannot put into words just how much I dislike this thing. I reboot after the first attempt because we get hit with 1 Sand Attack, and duly we miss 3 Bubble Beams in a row. Unfortunately, we can't even one-hit the Dark Doggo with 1 Bubble Beam, even with our Mystic Water boosting it. I get annoyed and rage quit reset. Our second attempt is a lot better, but even then, there are still some moments of real frustration in here, though it is nothing that will affect me drastically, just a few minor gripes. Mightyena survives our Ice Beam this time, though we don't drop it into a healing range, but still, we get hit with a Sand Attack because, of course, before we can finish it off with Bubble Beam. Absol is a 2-hit with Bubble Beam, and this is my major gripe, since it has the pressure ability, and we waste PP as a result. Also, we do get tagged with Rock Slide, which, really not helpful. After that though, the fight gets smoother, as we land Ice Beam on Shiftry at the first attempt to take that down, before we can do the same to Cacturn with another Ice Beam. Finally, the last opponent is Crawdont, and we can Giga Drain it down to recover our health and end it as a viable threat. That's 1 Elite 4 member down anyway. Next opponent is Phoebe, and if I was annoyed about the pressure pushing down on me before, it's going to get way worse here before it gets better. I really hate dealing with Phoebe's Dusclops. Still have some trauma from that slacking run 18 months ago. Her Dusclops at the start does prove to be that special kind of irritating, as it goes for the double protect right at the opening of the battle. I figured 1 move was coming, so I went return, so as not to waste any PP for my moves that can actually hit, but my blood pressure spikes on the second turn when once again it blocks our attacks, Bubble Beam doing nothing. We do hit a Bubble Beam on the third turn to do over half its health in damage, and then it decides to go for Curse, ending itself and meaning we have no chance of winning, so Bayonet can come in and slowly whittle us down, hitting a Thunderbolt while the Curse damage rips into us. She heals it after it survives our Bubble Beam, meaning our chances are dropping by the moment. I don't think we're ready for this yet. So, with that in mind, I go and grind some more before eventually coming back at level 94. It is the choice between Mystic Water and the Shell Bell, but I go for the former because a 10% damage increase is a 10% damage increase. This is not at all pleasant, and we lose lots of Bubble Beam power points. Dusclops number 1 takes 2 of them to knock out, plus the loss of 2 return power points to try and stall the first protect. It goes for a second one. We waste Bubble Beam PPs before we do eventually take it out with 2 more, though we do get hit with a Shadow Punch that we can shrug off. Bayonet number 1 goes down to a single Bubble Beam before the second Dusclops is out next, and thanks to the Citrus Berry, we drop it into healing range with the Bubble Beam, but not quite to the point where a second one would take it out thanks to its healing with the berry. Instead, it lands on red health and she drops a full restore on it. This is starting to become annoying as we take it out with 2 more bubble beams. What is worse is that we keep getting tagged with rock slides too. Bayonet number 2 survives bubble beam on red health and goes for grudge, while I do forget she might heal and stall the turn with return, but she full restores before we take it out with ice beam and bubble beam. Last is Saberlight, and it is a 2 hit with bubble beam, only going for double team, but thankfully that evasion raise never becomes an issue. I hate this fight so much sometimes. Next is Ice Trainer Glacier, and hey, we resist both of her stab types, so we should be okay here. I won't really need bubble beam again, bar maybe the 2 Glaciers she has here, so let's get at this and see how it goes. I mean, the thing to remember here is that damage is an issue. We do have a super effective move in Giga Drain, but limited PP. So I need to remember that as I hit Celio number 1 with return while it goes for Hail. That choice of move is just so I am guaranteed a kill shot on the next turn with Giga Drain, and we blast it with that move to recover health and end it as a threat. Glalie number 1 is next, and though we get hit with an Icy Wind, we can down it with a pair of bubble beam attacks, and that is just fantastic because I do not know what would have happened long term there. Third Pokemon is Celio number 2, and I go for the same tactics of hitting return to weaken it and then Giga Drain for the takedown, but we do get hit with Blizzard. Thankfully no freeze, we can shrug it off. Fourth is Glalie number 2, and it is a small matter to take it down with return and bubble beam, despite all the protests it makes to the prior and every attempt it also makes to fight back. None of these were bad opponents. Walrein, however, is particularly unpleasant due to it being massively bulky. We do not do much with return, hitting maybe a quarter of its health in damage every time. Plus, it has a citrus berry, which it goes for after we hit that twice. We do consistently get hit with Surf and Ice Beam attacks that, although they don't do massive damage, they do inflict chip damage on us that downs our health. I try for a kill shot with Giga Drain, but it unfortunately survives on red health and she drops a full restore, meaning we have to go through it all over again as we try to wear it down and down with return, all while we keep getting hit with those water and ice attacks. I don't think we ever look like losing, but victory is hard fought, as eventually, after 2 returns, I try another Giga Drain, and thankfully we can bring it down to take the win. I am expecting Drake to be simpler. The only one he has I think may present us with an issue is Kingdra, but hopefully he goes for that later in the fight rather than sooner. Everything else we may genuinely one-shot with Ice Beam, so, well, you can't buy confidence like that. And I am actually proven right, you know. His Shelgon is massively irritating as it goes for the double protect while we try to shoot it down with Ice Beam. And with cheap tactics like that, it only makes it sweeter when we do land Ice Beam at the 3rd attempt and one-shot it. I just wish we could kick it while it was down as well. That's for wasting our PP. Altaria goes down to Ice Beam in a single hit, and Salamence does the same. Neither of those bother us pretty much at all, before the next opponent we have to fight is Kingdra, and we come up cold as Ice Beam does less than half, return does about a quarter, and Giga Drain isn't too effective either, so every attack we throw at it, it manages to weather. Worse, it has a Dragon Dance and likes to use it, doing so twice, and given it has Body Slam, this is a problem, as eventually we get paralysed because, of course, I was amazed it took as long as it did. He has heals and he isn't afraid to use them, popping them off whenever we get it into knockout range. Eventually, while we are paralysed, he also goes for a smoke screen, and that was what I was worried about, as we do miss some chances to keep on going. Our attacks fail to connect, they fail to land, and eventually he's powered up to the point that we do go down for the count. I make another attempt at a higher level, boosting up our level to 100 with rare candies. I feel like we will need to be max level for Wallace, so I don't feel bad about this as we go back into the fight. The first bit of the fight goes exactly the same, so I am skipping ahead to Kingdra. This is literally infuriating, as in the space of a few turns it manages to survive Ice Beam, though it will be a 2-hit knockout, land paralysis with body slam on the very first effort, get a smoke screen off, plus crit with another body slam, and we don't land another blow for a while due to a combination of misses and paralysis. I said this was a problem, and unfortunately I was proved to be right, which is not always something pleasant. Eventually though, we land the Ice Beam and we take it down. Flygon proves to be difficult thanks to the above circumstances. We are slower thanks to paralysis, and at least one Ice Beam misses thanks to the smoke. So we do get hit with a few flamethrower attacks, which at least don't do great damage to us. And finally, we land the Ice Beam to take it out and give us the win. Just Wallace left then, and I don't know. I have a very sneaking suspicion I may need double team for this fight. I may have to utilise similar tactics to the Glacier fight. Weaken them with return and then try for the kill shot with Giga Drain. That might not do me a lot of good versus Tentacruel, and there is also an intimidating Gyarados to enter the fray too. Let's just see how this works out for us. I do not believe this. Wailord is first, and that thing has a lot of HP. We strike return and it goes for Rain Dance, which means we're going to go fast thanks to our ability. I then decide that while the rain is up, I'm going to hit it with Bubble Beams, and they actually do decent damage before we do get smacked with a crit double edge, which does about 80 points of damage before we finish the Wailord off with another Bubble Beam. Next is Tentacruel, and this one is likely going to be irritating. We smack it with return and do under half, which not good. Thankfully it goes for Hydro Pump, and even though it does land, we shrug it off even in the rain. Another return drops it into red health, and I will emphasise just how massive this is. It misses Toxic. The rain stops and Wallace heals it with a full restore before we strike it down with another 2 returns, although we do get tagged with Sludge Bomb in the interim. Thankfully, no poison, we drop it with another return. The next opponent to emerge then is Milotic, and this one could be a little worrying, as return does about 1/3 to 1/4. Thankfully, it chooses to attack us with Surf, which not going to be an issue. In the immortal words of Captain America, I can do that all day. I go for a Giga Drain, and we manage to put it on about 1/4 of its health and recover some of our own health. On the subject of recover, that's the move it goes for to heal up, and we go on the return offensive again as I try to get it to pop the Citrus Berry. Milotic also misses a Toxic on us, which massively lucky. We keep on hitting it with returns. We drop it down to about 1/4 before we get hit with another Surf, and then we end it as an opponent with Giga Drain, so we're looking reasonably good. At least we don't have to worry about any more poison. Next is Ludicolo, and there is another possibility for badness here as we strike it with Ice Beam for less than half, and it goes for double team. It has Leech Seed, which could be bad, but never uses it as we put it on low yellow health with return, and then Wallace goes for Giga Drain, which thankfully takes it out of full restore range, and we can finish it with another Ice Beam. 4 down, no way this is going this well. Whiscash is next, and we strike a single Giga Drain to bring it down hard and return our health to full, and that means there's just Gyarados left to face. We get intimidated and strike it with Ice Beam for about 1/3 of its health. It begins to Dragon Dance, which that is worrying as we land another Ice Beam. I am hoping for the freeze, but we put it on red health and it goes for another Dragon Dance before Wallace heals it, which massively annoying. It does strike us with an Earthquake, but doesn't do massive damage as we put it on about 1/5 of its health with another Ice Beam, and Wallace, I think he's desperate, uses another full restore. This is getting annoying. Our next ice beam freezes it, if only for a fraction of a turn, before it thaws out. It is now faster than us, so we go second, we freeze it, it goes first the next turn, defrost. Cheers, Pokemon Emerald! It goes for yet another Dragon Dance, and we land Giga Drain to make Ice Beam a potential kill shot on the next turn. The Earthquakes are slowly doing more and more damage, but it does not matter as our final Ice Beam lands. We take the Gyarados down, and I breathe a huge sigh of relief. I sit there in stunned silence as we beat the champion on the first attempt. We win the run, and we can go and enter the Hall of Fame. Well, that was actually shocking. I didn't expect to beat Wallace on the first try, but it is worth remembering that I did get absolutely insanely lucky, and I will not deny that, because Toxic missing twice in the same fight is nothing short of miraculous. I will take it though. That was fun for the most part. Brutal in places. I wouldn't have thought I'd needed to level as much as I did for the Rock Gym, but given most of the usual suspects of difficulty here didn't apply, I'm looking at you, Psychic Gym. It was nice. Psychic Gym wasn't horrific for once. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Remember what I said, I'm aiming for 300 subscribers by the end of the year. Help the channel achieve that goal, folks. As always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, you can follow the links in the description below to my Twitter and my Discord, taking submissions there, or in the comment section down below. Join me again next time for another Pokemon challenge as we head back to Gen 2 and see if I can beat Pokemon Silver with just a single Porygon. It's sure to be an interesting one as we follow up on the Gen 1 challenge I did with the Cyberspace Beast. What's going on with me? I can't believe it's September. Where did the year go? It doesn't seem like 2 minutes since we were kicking off the year with Starter Pokemon Month. At the end of October, I'm going away for a week, so that's something for me to look forward to. All the little joys in life. I'm looking forward to having a week away with my girlfriend and her parents. Can't really think of too much more to say, so I'm going to jump off here and move on to the next thing. As always, folks, this has been Once and Future Gamer, and this has been Pokemon Emerald with a Single Surskit. Take care now, have a great day, and see you next time. Bye bye now, folks. So long. See ya!